Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Kai Storm, author of Where Is My Daddy? Kai, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right. Question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
The best piece of advice I would give them is to absolutely read their contract if they're going to sign with a publishing company, whether it be a large company or a small company. Definitely read the contract. I myself had a situation where I was excited to get a piece of paper in front of my face, and I put my name on it and wasn't really sure about what was happening, but I trusted the people that gave me the paper. And it wasn't until I did more research that I realized that the paper I had in front of me was worth nothing, and that I should have read it before I signed my name to it. So going forward, any contract that I sign, I absolutely read it and make sure I agree with every detail before I sign it.
Yeah, and that is great advice because unfortunately, a lot of authors do at times get taken for a ride, especially with these deals, and you have to look at every single thing and make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. In fact, I always recommend to authors out there, check with an attorney. Yes, it might cost you a couple $100s to have them review the deal, but would you rather spend a couple $100s now or potentially a few $1,000s trying to get this issue resolved if things don't go the way that you want?
Exactly. And the fact is, there might be some, language in the contract that says that, they own this, they own that, and if you're not full of agreement to that, then, you absolutely should know about that beforehand and not sign it. Of course, it's exciting to have a company, no matter whether it's big or small, to reach out to you to help you publish your work. But at the end of the day, you have to be realistic and not just sign it just because it's being presented. You have to definitely look at it and see if it's a benefit for yourself and your art.
Absolutely. And you've actually written multiple books. How many books have you got published so far?
6 so far.
And then when the contract issue happened, was this with your first book, or which book was this with?
This was with my first book. Before it was published, I had signed with a company that reached out to me and was excited, at least that's the impression that they gave me, that they were excited to work with me and put my book out. And because I knew nothing about the publishing business or felt like that they were cheating me in any kind of way, I just went with whatever they told me. And the one piece of advice that they gave me that killed our relationship was to join Facebook, because when I joined Facebook automatically let me know to put me in contact with a lot of different authors who had already been published, and because I was in contact with them, I was able to ask them questions about the business and how things are really supposed to go. And that's how I learned that the piece of paper that I had signed was worth nothing.
So what was the resolution?
Well, the resolution was that, thank God for me, that the contract expired by itself. It had a clause in it that said if I wasn't published within 2 years, that the contract is null and void. And literally, it had been past 2 years. It's been at least 2.5 years, almost three. And so and then again, while I started contacting a lot of different authors, I would get information about publishing, and when I turned to them to ask them questions about what the information that I was getting, I was getting the runaround and not full answers. So that plus the contract killing itself ended our relationship, and within weeks of our relationship ending, I found a legitimate publishing company which published five of my books, 21st Street Urban Editing and Publishing, and everything that they told me about the business went exactly how it's supposed to go. I mean, I was edited properly, put out properly. Everything was done on a business sense versus what I had before, where it was just I was sending out emails with questions and not getting responses, or getting half responses, and either way they did not add up to a published product.
Well, the good news is you found a good publisher, and I think it's one of the most important things. I have a lot of people that come to me after being messed around by a publishing company or through a coach, and I always call them second chance clients because I'm able to help them get their book to where it needs to go. So I'm really glad that you found a good publisher that was going to support you, because one thing I will tell our listeners that are out there is I think one of the main things is when you are looking, because you get excited. I had the same thing. After I published my first book, I had all these different publishing companies offer me the moon and the stars. And one, I just decided to keep going, stay in my own lane, and publishing them myself as I built my publishing company up. But the other part of that was I wanted to have that creative control. And then the next thing is, I did a lot of research. I Googled a lot of those companies and saw either a very cheesy looking website, limited social media, or I saw a bunch of complaints or a bunch of notes and rip-off report. So one of the things that I always say is this: always do your research, and then when you are talking to one of these core companies that are reaching out, and I would tell them very simply, ask them a question, and that is, what are your core values? And if they cannot answer that question within the first minute, then to me, that's always a red flag. We're actually recording this today on the day that Stan Lee passed away. And Stan Lee was the creator of the Marvel Universe, and he always talked about spidey senses tingling with Spider-Man. And that was the same thing. If my spidey senses are tingling when a company's pitching me and I just feel something's not right, then I am not going to work with them.
That makes a whole lot of sense, and I myself was surprised to see that on the news about Stan Lee. I was just like, I mean, just one of those people that you kind of think that'll never go away, and so now when you hear them gone, it's like, wow, really? So yeah, and and see, another thing that helped me too was before I signed with the company I'm with, I actually asked other authors that was signed to that company, like, how did they get treated? Because, I mean, the people that they work with are the quickest people to tell the truth if something's going right and going wrong. So, and because we when someone's disgruntled, they will quickly let other people know about the reason why they're disgruntled in the first place. So that definitely gets a lot of information out of anyone. If you don't feel that the information that's being given to you by the company is legit, you can easily turn to someone that they have worked with, and they will give you all the tea, anything that's up and down about that company. If it's a good company, if it's a bad company, whatever's going on, they'll be the first to share all the details.
Absolutely. One of the things that I do with my business is we have a lot of testimonials from clients that we've helped. And one of the things is I stand 100% behind those testimonials. So on my website, we have a carousel, probably about 15 to 20 testimonials from clients. And the thing is, when those clients gave me those testimonials, I asked them, I was like, hey, would you be okay if I had a prospective client reach out to you and ask you about the business? And they're like, absolutely. Because that's why you have to stand by your product. So for any prospective clients I have, if they're like, hey, can I talk to this person that's written this testimonial? I'm like, absolutely. Because when you treat people correctly and you take care of them, they are going to be the best referrals, and the best marketing that you have is the fact that you backed up exactly what you said you're going to do. You didn't write any checks that your rear end couldn't cash.
Exactly. Exactly. And anything bad, anything that went wrong, they will be the first ones to tell too. So,
Exactly. So the moral of the story, take care of your clients, because if you do that, everything else takes care of itself.
yes, it does.
Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
The hardest part, I would say, it is just, if anything, just trusting who you work with, because everything else is just part of the business. The editing process, the choosing the right cover, where you'll do your first book signing. Everything else is just part of the process. But choosing the right people to work with, and making sure that they have the right people to work with, because you don't want to sign up to a publishing company and then they have an editor who's not used to working with your genre, or is going to just want to rewrite everything that you wrote. You want the whole team to be cohesive. So that, I think, is the best, is the hardest thing to find a team that you can trust, that will work with you, and and work towards your goal the way you want them to.
Well, and with your book, you have a very unique genre. So could you tell our listeners, a little more about your genre and what you do?
Well, I write in two different genres. I like to say, I'm more. Most of my books are urban fiction, which basically deals with, urban life in general, as far as drugs, violence, just emotions, things of that nature. Just a lot of neighborhood situations, neighborhood nuances, just the neighborhood period is a couple of my books, which you could describe a couple of my books. I do have a romance novel, because I absolutely love to write about love. And because I have a knack for it, I also write erotica and BDSM novels, and I'm also a blogger, an erotica blogger. So so I basically call everything I write grown up wordplay, because it's definitely for everyone over 21. It's definitely not for the lighthearted, and it's real. One of the main things I like to portray in everything I write is that I want people to read my stuff and feel like it could have happened. It's all fictitious, but at the same time, I wanted to feel like these people and these actions and everything that they're reading about could have been real at some point.
Absolutely. And you have such a unique experience with your books. And honestly, you're probably one of the first ones we've had on the show that actually writes and publishes about these areas. So I really appreciate you giving us some more information about that, because what you do is very unique.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I definitely like to write not only from my own experiences, but also things that I see. I feel like my whole life I've always been watching things that need to be written down. So, plus my imagination is definitely off the wall. So when I put both of those together, I come up with great stories.
Well, speaking of imagination, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launches that has worked well.
One of the main things that I use on a regular basis is I will put the names of my books, or the fact that I'm an author on clothing, like T-shirts or like hats, things that that you when you're wearing, people have to see them, and the fact is, people are nosy. We as humans, we all have a natural nosy, you know, strike in us. So when you see someone and they have on a hat and they have something written on the hat, and they're walking past you, your natural reaction is to want to see what's written on the hat, to see if it's funny or to see if it's something you would like, and that has helped me tremendously, because people will see the name of my book and go, "Hey, what's that?" and then I'll be able to say, "Look, it's the name of this," and pull out some material out of my bag, like a flyer or something like that. And that'll automatically get someone's attention, or when you're walking up to someone that you see reading, and you introduce yourself as an author, they'll if they see you a hat or a T-shirt or something like that with your book's name on it, or the fact that you're an author, they'll automatically go, "Oh, okay, that's the reason why you're talking to me. You're advertising your work." And 9 times out of 10, people genuinely welcome stuff like that, because they see that you're individual. You're trying to do your best to advertise, and you're using whatever resources are available to you.
Now, in regards to the clothing, which I think is just an absolutely brilliant idea, do you actually have the designs of your books as well, like the covers, or are you mainly using just the title of the book?
Well, I use titles. Sometimes I'll get a picture printed on just like on like a regular T-shirt, because a lot of stores, especially like towards the summer or towards the fall, will have like regular plain T-shirts or plain hats, that are on sale. So you just purchase one of those, and depending on what you have around you, like around where I live, there's malls where you can go and have something stitched on a shirt or printed on a shirt really quick for like $10, $15, nothing big. Or you can go online and go to places like Vistaprint and create your own T-shirt, and post a picture on the T-shirt of a cover photo, and like I said, you're walking around, you're shopping at your local supermarket, and people are looking at you, and because we're naturally nosy, we'll see something and go, what's that? What's that? Let me Google it real quick, because I have my cell phone in my hand. And then next thing you know, you got somebody purchasing your book because they seen the name of your book on your shirt while you were buying groceries.
So these shirts that you had created, and the hats and everything, they were for you, or were you also sharing them with friends and family, with readership? What was your strategy with that?
Well, I've mostly bought them for me. I've had individual fans of my work ask me to be able to purchase them, so I have sold them individually to a couple of my fans. But I generally make them just for me, so that because I didn't want to do a mass makeup and have a whole bunch of, knowing that the possibility of me not be able to sell them would be there. So I kind of just make them for myself, and then if someone actually inquires about them and wants to pay for one, I'll absolutely sell them one.
And these are mainly hats and T-shirts, correct?
Correct.
And they're either were stitched, probably more for the hats, but some of the other clothing could be stitched, and then potentially also through Vistaprint having like different book covers and those type of things on the shirts.
Yes.
Love it. Great strategies. And believe it or not, you're the first one that's actually mentioned this.
Yeah, because Vistaprint, I mean, for the most part, is pretty cheap. And then if you have an account with them, because I do have a running account with them, they have a tendency to give you discounts on things. So you'll end up, getting a shirt for like $3-4, and you know, design it yourself with with the cover and on it, and by the time you're done paying taxes and everything, the shirt might be like $15 or something like that, and it's like, and it's an individual design that you kind of put together.
Yeah, so when you're talking about those coupons, I did the same thing. And the funny thing is, when you go into Vistaprint, the more you buy, the better deal they give you. So I usually end up dropping a couple $100 every time. I had some shirts made with my Get Published logo, company logo on it. We had foam boards made for different live events. We've had posters. We have all sorts of different things where the more you buy, the better deal that you get. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that, because they do offer some good deals there.
They absolutely do. They love their return customers. So
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
My favorite book of all time is called "Their Eyes Are Watching God," and I don't know why, but the author is Zora Neale Hurston. I was about to say, I can't remember the author's name right now, but I call that my favorite book because I read that book when I was about 12 years old, and at 12 years old, your imagination is your whole world. Like literally, you're naive. You're quick to believe anything that you're seeing or reading, and that book made me feel like everything in that book could happen. Like it's something that could happen in real life, and it scared the dickens out of me. It just made me feel like, oh man, like if this could happen in real life, like how would I survive? It was just it made me really, really scared, and at the same time, I liked it that I was able to read the book and feel the words. Like I like the fact that I could be scared by something I read. So it definitely taught me that that just because words are not just words. Words have words carry a powerful force, and it can move mountains. It can do words can do a lot of different things that it, just because they're just sitting on paper don't mean that they're just meaningless.
Absolutely. And for our final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Okay, so my favorite quote, I'm gonna have to explain it a little bit. It's from this movie called Shutters. It's probably not a popular movie that many people have seen, because it's more of what people would call a hood movie. And it's a movie about drug dealers robbing drug dealers. And the reason, my favorite line out of it is, "Biggs, you're gone too far." And the reason why I like that line is because it's like, in the scene, there's just a whole lot going on, and it's just one person just realized, hold on, you this is going way too far. Wait, stop right here, stop tape. So I always love that line, and I always use it anytime when it's just a lot going on, and I just want everything to stop. I just go, "Look, Biggs, you've gone too far."
Well, Kai, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
The best way to find me online is, I love saying this, you can Google me, Kai Storm, KAISTORM. I also have two websites, nattikai.com, that's NATTIEKAI.com. And the second one is NATTIEKAI.wixsite, which is WIXSITE.com/KAIH. If you Google me, you'll find both sites. And I'm on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Tumblr, Google Plus. I think the only thing I don't do is Snapchat, because I just can't understand it. But yeah, I'm definitely easy to be found on social media. All my books are on Amazon. You can buy the Kindle version or the paperback. I have links on my website. I also have a YouTube channel. Let's see. Like I said, I'm also a blogger for Vocal Media, so you can always go to Vocal Media and find all my blogs. And so, yeah, I'm quite easy to find online.
Well, Kai, I want to thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and hopefully I can come back when I got something new going on.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.